Linux Mint has been my go-to Linux distro for years. I've been using it for my work and play, and it's been an absolutely amazing system. It feels like home. But recently, I installed the all-new Elementary OS 8 to play around with it, and let me tell you, it may be opinionated and controversial, but it is a phenomenal distro nonetheless. It's visually stunning, minimalistic, and does things its own way. And this major release has brought in many big changes and improvements. While Linux Mint and Elementary OS are very different systems, there is one commonality here. Both provide a super polished premium computing experience. So I was intrigued to find out which one is better. So I decided to put them head to head and do the ultimate test. For 7 days, I switched to Elementary OS 8 to see if it's better than Linux Mint as my daily driver. Can this sleek Mac-inspired OS win me over, or will I come crawling back to the comfort of my Linux Mint? This is not just a switching experiment. This is a full distro showdown. Linux Mint 22.1 versus Elementary OS 8. Which one comes out on top? Let's jump right in. Alright, let's start off by having a look at the biggest divergence between Elementary OS and Linux Mint, their user interfaces. Elementary OS uses the Pantheon desktop environment, a polished and minimalistic desktop that had made big waves in the Linux community. This desktop is a major factor in its popularity. If you're someone who appreciates clean aesthetics and minimal design, you're gonna like Pantheon. Often referred to as the Mac OS of the Linux world, Pantheon is sleek, intuitive, and visually stunning. Now, Pantheon is not just beautiful, it's functional as well. You can use this to get some work done, no problem. I've been doing some browsing, some coding, and editing here, and it's alright. I do find multitasking to be a hassle because I don't have a taskbar here. I'll not deny it, it can get annoying. But I'm really getting into the simplicity of this desktop. Pantheon is loved because it's straightforward. There's the menu, dock, quick settings. That's it. No desklets, applets, or widgets, nothing extra. But this simplicity is a double-edged sword because it also means that Pantheon isn't very customizable. You can't move the top panel, dock, or the menu. If you love personalizing your desktop, it will feel restrictive. But if you like Pantheon how it comes out of the box, and chances are you will, then it will fit seamlessly into your life like a Lego block. Elementary OS 8 brought some updates, like the new glossy semi-transparent dock. Personally, I prefer the older one, but the change is cool too. But this desktop doesn't just get love and praises. Many people, including me, are strong critics of some aspects of this desktop. For me, the biggest one is Pantheon desktop and Elementary OS as a whole is highly opinionated and even dogmatic. For instance, the window controls, no minimize button, and the close and maximize buttons are on the opposite sides of the window. You'd think you could tweak this through the settings, but no, it's fixed. But if you really need to make changes, you'll have to install the Pantheon tweak tool from the App Center, which lets you adjust things you otherwise can't. But I am an open-minded person and I understand that Elementary OS developers have a vision of how it's supposed to be used, and I can get behind that. So for this experiment, I used Elementary OS as it is because I wanted to get into the raw elementary experience. Alright people, now let's talk about Linux Mint's Cinnamon desktop environment. A sleek, absolutely beautiful, and highly user-friendly computing space that's found a humongous fan base in the world of desktop Linux. If you're a fan of that classic Windows 7 desktop layout, this one will feel like home. The thing about Cinnamon desktop is it's got all the familiar elements. A taskbar, or panel as we call it here, a system tray, and an all-powerful menu. And when I say all-powerful, I mean all-powerful. With this menu, open it and just start typing and you'll find your apps, settings, or files instantly. And it also has everything organized into categories. Compared to this, Elementary's menu feels like a toy, but I did like the clean UI there. The thing about using a computer like this in this layout, the traditional desktop layout as it's called, is that people just get how to use it. Even someone who's absolutely new to Linux will know how to open the menu and get around things here. The layout is familiar and intuitive. It's Usability 101, people. But here's where it gets exciting and Linux Mint takes a step ahead of Elementary OS. Customization. In the customization department, Cinnamon puts you in the driver's seat, letting you change anything and everything. We get a huge selection of themes, desklets, which are basically widgets for your desktop, and applets for your panel. And recently we got actions, which let you customize the context menu on right click. The possibilities are endless. At the end of the day, Cinnamon and Pantheon are very different user interfaces with very different philosophies. Cinnamon nails that traditional familiar layout, while Pantheon is all about minimalism. Pantheon is downright stunning. I like the fact that it's minimal. It really helps keep things simple and clean. It does require that you do things in a certain way, and I was getting used to doing things that way after just using it for a couple of days. I got used to the window controls, at least to a small extent. I actually started using the keyboard shortcut to minimize windows, and just used workspaces more, which I tend to do on Linux Mint as well. When I started this, I really thought Mint was going to take the user interface point, but I have to say, I have warmed up to Elementary. It just boils down to which interface you like the most. Yeah, there is that friction or learning curve when you start off with Elementary, but you get over it quickly. Mint, on the other hand, couldn't complain even if I nitpicked. Ultimately, this is a subject to matter, and both of these are phenomenal ways of using a computer. So both get a point each in the user interface department. Elementary OS and Linux Mint both deliver best-in-class software availability with a strong emphasis on simplicity and user-friendliness. I have to tell you, you'll really enjoy software management on these two distros. While both Linux Mint 22.1 and Elementary OS 8 are based on Ubuntu 24.04 LTS, software delivery and the experience is widely different. Elementary OS has been exploring different software strategies ever since its inception, and they have made big changes with this version as well. This is App Center, Elementary's graphical software manager. Elementary OS 8, although based on Ubuntu, has become a Flatpak only system. Yes sir, you can only install Flatpak applications from the App Center here. Packages from the Ubuntu software repositories are completely omitted out. But with this version, we are getting full-fledged, unrestricted access to FlatHub. This turns Elementary OS into a very unique and interesting remix of the solid Ubuntu base and the dynamic nature of Flatpaks. Security and a consistent experience through sandboxed apps is prioritized here. The last major version of Elementary OS had bombed hard because they had tried to create their own app ecosystem with developers developing applications exclusively for Elementary OS. No FlatHub, no Ubuntu apps, and this left users with a very limited set of apps which didn't even have the essential. It was a disastrous move for Elementary OS 7. However, this release integrates full FlatHub support directly into the App Center, greatly expanding the app availability here. This is very interesting what they have done with Elementary OS. You get a very stable, solid, yet relatively modern base from Ubuntu, but then you're not restricted to using older packages that come from Ubuntu repositories. Instead, you get the latest of anything and everything coming directly from FlatHub. With Elementary OS 8, application updates and system updates are separated. Application updates are managed in the App Center and system updates are handled in settings. This logical separation lets you update apps independently, keeping the base of the system itself stable. I feel like this is a great option for many people. The App Center on Elementary OS is a genuine pleasure to use. It's clean, simple, and provides detailed information about the apps you're getting. All in all, this is a very well-rounded software manager. Getting back to Linux Mint, it takes a very versatile approach. It uses the Ubuntu software repositories as the primary software source, allowing you to directly install more than 50,000 well-tested packages. At the same time, you are getting unbridled access to Flatpak from FlatHub. So yeah, the newest of everything from an expanded catalog advantage that Elementary OS has, you're getting that on Linux Mint as well. Now I really prefer to use full native packages like .deps of Ubuntu over Flatpaks or snaps. I don't mind using them if necessary, but yeah, I do have a preference here. Linux Mint Software Manager makes this easy with a simple drop down to choose the format. Now, native .deb packages have serious advantages like significantly lower storage usage and faster launch times. This can be crucial for many people. On Elementary OS 8, you can install .deb packages from Ubuntu repositories using the terminal with the sudo apt install command, but not through the App Center. Linux Mint Software Manager is fast, well organized, and gives you that choice of freedom between native .deb packages and Flatpaks. This makes software management smooth and enjoyable on Linux Mint. Now I get it. I get the vision that Elementary OS developers have for it. They want to provide you with a highly secure, sandboxed software environment, and I can get behind that. That's how it's supposed to be. The newest of all the software coming directly from the software developers or vendors themselves. But I prefer the simplicity, the harmony and the efficiency of using software installed from native package managers, be it on Linux Mint, Ubuntu or Fedora. I just like that. And for me, the benefits are very tangible. I like the smaller application sizes, faster launch speeds, and you can just feel the cohesiveness of using software like this. So I'm gonna give the software management point to Linux Mint here. But remember, if you don't mind using Flatpaks for all applications, you'll have absolutely no complaints with Elementary OS. By the way, if you haven't already, check out my course Linux Mastery Express. I've designed this course to level up your Linux skills very quickly. With this course, you'll get so comfortable using the terminal commands that your friends will think you're a Linux wizard. You'll get perfect with the most used, most useful commands and also learn advanced things like using the V-editor and shell scripting as well. Linux Mastery Express, link in the description, do check it out. Alright, let's jump into the performance section. This is where the real fight is. Both Linux Mint and Elementary OS are very optimized out of the box. While there are certain similarities in the performance of these two distros because they use the same base, the end user experience, the final performance profile of these two distros is different in most areas. Let's start off by taking a look at the resource usage when idling after startup. Both Elementary and Linux Mint were using around 800 MB to 1 GB of RAM on my computer. So you can see a very similar resource usage pattern here. In my experience, Linux Mint can be generally installed on computers with low specs or older computers, and you are going to get a decent performance here. Elementary, on the other hand, performs better on at least moderately powered computers. While Elementary's Pantheon desktop is a minimal desktop, it should not be confused with lightweight desktops like XFCE, because Pantheon is a modern desktop incorporating the newest tech and features. It's minimal by design. Now on heavier things like gaming, compiling, rendering, both the distros perform very similarly on the same hardware. There's no noticeable difference here. Earlier, we talked about how Elementary OS is a Flatpak only system and Linux Mint generally gives you choice between .deb packages and Flatpaks, with .debs used predominantly. This has notable implications for performance of both these systems. Applications installed as .debs here on Linux Mint integrate directly into the system utilizing shared system libraries. This direct integration typically results in faster startup times as the system doesn't need to initialize a separate environment for each application. Flatpaks, on the other hand, run in sandboxed environments which introduce additional overhead during initialization. Also, they bundle all the dependencies along with them and they have to be loaded into the memory as well. This sandboxing and this kind of packaging can and does lead to slightly slower startup times compared to their .deb counterparts. This is heavily pronounced if you are using traditional hard disk drives instead of SSDs. Now I'm not talking about differences in benchmarks. This difference is noticeable by us in most cases. Flatpaks also use more RAM and considerably larger chunks of storage space. Yes, Flatpaks are great and they have their advantages, but you need to consider these things, especially if you have modest hardware. But remember, you can still install .deb applications on Elementary OS by directly using the sudo apt install command. I said that I was going to use Elementary OS the Elementary OS way. So I installed all my day-to-day applications as Flatpaks here. And the end result was Linux Mint, which had my applications installed as .debs, was definitely faster than Elementary OS in day-to-day experience. If I had installed those applications using the sudo apt install command, I know this would be a different story, but I am doing things the Elementary OS way, so for me, Linux Mint was noticeably faster, so it takes the performance point home. Talking about the installation experience, both Linux Mint and Elementary OS are just great in this department. Linux Mint's installation process is honestly as user-friendly as it gets. Whether you're a Linux newcomer or a veteran, Mint makes things intuitive. The graphical installer here provides you all the options like extensive dual boot setups, disk partitioning, and it even installs multimedia codecs automatically. And overall, it hits that balance between being flexible with options and not being too overwhelming at the same time. Talking about Elementary OS, its installation process is smooth, sleek, and so welcoming. It's clearly designed with aesthetics and usability in mind. Just like Mint, it too supports all the features and options, and it's pretty much a straightforward installation process. After installation, both Elementary and Mint have good post-installation onboarding processes. Here too, Elementary OS follows its minimal approach, while Mint takes it a step further and lets you configure automatic system backups, automatic updates, in-depth theming, and some other stuff. Different approaches, but both get a point each here for the ease of getting started with them. But this difference only grows bigger once you consider the pre-installed application set. Let's break it down. First up, Linux Mint. Its philosophy is simple. Give users everything they need right out of the box. We get LibreOffice for office work, Firefox for browsing, Thunderbird for email, VLC for multimedia, and even Timeshift for system backups. It's completely usable the moment you boot it up. Most people are going to resonate with Mint here because you are getting all the essentials that most people might need at some point in the day right out of the box. Yeah, if you need any other applications or specialized tools, you know where to get them from. Now on the other side, Elementary OS. Let me tell you, it's like stepping into a minimalistic Scandinavian-inspired living room. This just gives you a clean slate. If you're a software developer, you download your tools. If you're a student, you download the applications you need. If you're a gamer, you get your stuff. The system itself comes with a minimally installed application set, but the applications that are installed like mail, music, videos, and the code editor, they are created specifically for Elementary OS and they fit in phenomenally here. And we get Epiphany for browsing here, which I don't really like and I don't even understand why it's chosen here. So you'll have to hit up the App Center to get another browser and fill in the gaps. Completely different approaches, but the execution is pretty great. Both get a point each here. I've been gaming on Linux Mint for decades now, and this week I did get a few hours on Elementary OS and I felt that Elementary OS holds its own in the gaming department. Now Linux Mint is an undeniably good platform for gaming on Linux. It's easy to set up with support for all the gaming tools on Linux. Steam, Proton or Lutris, it all works here. And the performance is pretty solid across the board as well. Elementary OS 2 has support for all these gaming tools and the performance is good here too. But if you have an Nvidia GPU, it was not exactly plug and play. Nvidia drivers were just easier to install on Linux Mint. But with this new version, Elementary OS makes it completely easy to install Nvidia drivers on it too. And once you set up gaming on either of these two distros, you're on. Be it casual gaming or hardcore, both these distros work phenomenally. Both get a point each for gaming. Elementary OS 8 and Linux Mint 22.1, the newest versions available at the time of making of this video, are both built on Ubuntu 24.04 LTS. Both of these distros provide refined and reliable computing systems and are extremely dependable for pretty much all kinds of works. Coding, businesses, education, or general home use, you name it. A new version of both these systems comes out every 2 years, aligned with Ubuntu LTS releases and are supported for 5 years. Elementary OS, of course, has separated its core from the applications, and the applications themselves will be the newest version available at any moment. So there is that difference between Elementary OS and Linux Mint. Both of these systems are extremely secure out of the box. Linux Mint uses AppArmor. It encourages that you use a firewall and it regularly gets patches and security updates via official repositories. Elementary OS takes it a step further with the introduction of the secure session mode in its newest version. It restricts app permissions by default and you explicitly need to give permissions for many things like screen recordings, screenshots and some other things. And because of Flatpak apps, they are sandboxed and need permissions via portals, and yeah, there is a strict granular app permissions on top. Linux Mint and Elementary OS absolutely ace it in this department. Both are extremely functional for a wide range of use cases. Both are rock solid and both come with very hardened security measures out of the box, with Elementary OS going the extra mile here. Mint and Elementary get a point each here. Alright, after diving deep into both the distros, it's clear that Elementary OS and Linux Mint are designed for completely different types of people, but they both excel in what they intend to do. If you value aesthetics, minimalism, and a curated experience, Elementary OS might just be your dream distro. Yeah, Pantheon Desktop is opinionated, but it offers a sleek and distraction-free computing environment and it forces you to adapt, but I did find it refreshing. Remember, it has minimal customization options and a Flatpak-centric app ecosystem. Linux Mint, on the other hand, it absolutely shines with its versatility, customization capability, and a user-friendly approach. This is perfect for those of you who want something familiar and full control over your system. Linux Mint gives you a lot of freedom in pretty much every aspect. So after spending a week with Elementary OS, am I making the switch? Well, I'm greatly tempted. Elementary OS just has a lot going on for it. But it is a fact that I've settled with Linux Mint after trying so many Linux distributions. Big and small, good and bad, cutting edge, rolling, stable, atomic. I've tried it all and I've settled with Linux Mint because there is merit in it. I agree, this is a personal relationship, but for me it's very hard for a distro to beat Linux Mint. So my personal point today goes to Linux Mint. And by the total tally of points, Linux Mint wins this battle of the giants. And for you, the choice between which of these two is better for you is a very personal decision, and I hope I have laid out the information needed to make that pick. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, if you found it useful, definitely consider subscribing to the channel and also leave me a big thumbs up. And talk to me in the comment section below. Which of these two did you pick and why? I'd love to hear from you. And if you're interested in leveling up your Linux skills, the link to my course Linux Mastery Express is given in the description below. It's designed to teach you Linux and take you from zero to hero within the shortest amount of time possible. You'll be using Linux like a pro within a matter of hours, so definitely check that out. Also, don't forget to check out what's new in the all-new Linux Mint 22.1. It's bringing out some really cool things. There's a new cinnamon, they have redesigned many components. Ooh, we now get power modes. Yeah, it's loaded, don't miss that. Alright, this is the Linux Tex signing out.